Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 4 of the Disorganized Religion podcast. My name is Matt Horan. I am the pastor at Heritage United Methodist Church, and I am joined by one of my partners in crime over there.
I'm Eric Johnson.
That's Eric Johnson. We do record today with our unlicentious licentiate, Deshaun Jones, not present with us today. He's out of town, so we miss him, but we press on to doing the quality work that we feel called to do, even though he's not here. So we'll make him do extra work next time. But I do want to bring big news to you, both of you who are listening right now, to all the many fans of the Disorganized Religion podcast. You may not know that I'm a part of a soccer team. We're called the Lost Souls, an odd name for a soccer team that has a church pastor on it, but never fear, the word is spelled S-O-L-E-S, like the bottom of your shoe. So
see what you did there.
Yeah, that's right. So they're the Lost Souls, and we've begun our playoff push. Last night was our first round playoff game, and we were wildly victorious, 4-1. I credit a lot of the performance last night to our new jerseys that we just got in. I'm displaying it proudly behind me. I'm not sure if you can see it or not, but it's back there.
Yeah, we can see it.
Thankful for our sponsors, the Dunder Mifflin Paper Company, who made those shirts possible.
And what position do you play on this?
I am the goalkeeper. I am the last line of defense.
And are you a good goalkeeper?
Because if I was a better line of defense, they probably put me earlier than the last line of defense.
If you could run.
It's like if all else fails, we'll have Matt. It'd be up to Matt to see if he can stop it. That's right. There is a whole lot of running involved if you are not the goalkeeper. Although I will say that the shooting skills in my league, which is basically a league for people who are too old to be really good anymore, but too young to quite give it up yet. So we do have some wild shooters in our league, which results in me having to run to chase after the ball that they have kicked errantly above or to beside the goal that I'm trying to defend. So I do get my steps in playing goalkeeper, even though it isn't quite the same running level that those other people out there in the actual field are doing. So that is a new piece of the decor this time around for the podcast. I added to the. Oh, go ahead, Eric. Sorry.
I got to work on my decor game because compared to yours, it's sadly lacking. As you can see, I have my 3 pieces.
Now they're quality pieces.
To your 40.
Those are quality pieces, though. I mean, you got John Wesley, who,
Yep.
I mean,
John Wesley bobblehead.
He's a big deal around here. Then you have the Hulk.
Right. Which has its own story to it, which we'll share sometime. And
right.
Then, yeah, my Enneagram 5 mug. So also something we'll probably talk about.
So we'll cover the
later.
Enneagram someday,
Yeah.
right? I do find it interesting as I think about this now. John Wesley was a pretty short guy. You may recall he famously had to stand on his father's grave to be able to be seen by people when he was speaking to them outside of the church where he grew up. And but in your case, you have the Hulk, who is shorter than John Wesley, considerably shorter than John Wesley. So there's a little bit of irony, or maybe situational irony there. That I like what you're doing there. You probably didn't do that on purpose.
No,
but I like it. Sure. Yeah, I'm proud of the collection of memorabilia that I've brought into your office to create my space in your office. As you know, I'm a pretty big Star Wars fan. Got the guys here hanging out with us. I got the the old school lunchbox from back in the day.
So I also am a Star Wars fan. Are you? What is your favorite set of films? I guess the classic question: which Star Wars series is the best?
You know, I got to say, my favorite movie of all of them is actually Rogue One.
Really?
I enjoyed Rogue One a great deal, and I thought that was so well done, the way that they led up to Episode 4 in that. So I don't even choose one of the main 9 movies to be my favorite, because Rogue One was really, really well done. Obviously, I would say the first 3 are my favorites, but I have a theory for you.
Okay.
Let's see if I can.
My favorite are the middle 3 or the first 3, depending on how you.
That's what I meant.
How you look at it.
The 1977, 79, 81
exactly
movies, right?
And then Empire Strikes Back being the best of the 3.
That is typically seen as the best, and it probably is. Yeah, but here's my theory. All right. And you might disagree with me.
Probably.
Which is fine, but you'll be wrong, but that's fine. So I feel like the more you watch a Star Wars movie, the more you like it.
Okay.
And I'll tell you this. So I watched the Han Solo movie, like the Han Solo
the
solo movie, the standalone movie. Yeah.
Right.
Sorry. A solo movie is not the right word for that movie. The Han Solo movie. And at first I was like, all right. Like, I see what they did there. I mean, I tend to like movies even that most people don't. My brother, who lives in Australia, he mocks me pretty freely, because he's actually directed movies himself. He's been in the film production industry, and he's a refined critic of the movies.
Oh, I wonder what he thinks of our podcast.
I'm sure he's watched every single episode. Yeah. But yeah, he'll come out with his thoughts on a movie, and I'll say, "Oh, that was terrible." I'll be like, "Oh, I liked it." Of course you did. You like everything. But that said, I saw the Han Solo movie, and I thought, okay, there are a lot of things well done. I liked how they brought some of the stuff, from the original movies into the Solo movie. Like Lando's capes, like it was just kind of some funny
Little
stuff.
Little
nods to the originals, right? Then I watched it again, and I thought, wow, I missed a lot of stuff in that. That was better than I thought it was. And then, how long has it been out now? 2-3 years, right? Or maybe more
a
than
little
that.
longer than that. Yeah.
So, and sometimes I'll just put movies on that I've seen before, just like while I'm doing other stuff. And so I've probably seen the Han Solo movie maybe 4 times now, and it gets better every time. And people have said, like, that movie was terrible. Now I'm feeling like I wish they would have made the next one, right? Because if you recall the way the Han Solo movie ends, like Darth Maul's in it, and you have this.
Yeah, it's just getting ready to get good. Yeah.
Right. I'm thinking, oh man, well, I wonder what they would do with that, right? And so I don't know. So that's my theory. My theory is that the more you see these movies, the better they get, and which could be why all of the people who grew up watching episodes 4, 5, and 6, which are the middle saga that was the original saga, that's why we love them so much. We've seen them a gazillion times. Like, remember back in the day when one of the Star Wars movies was coming on TV, right? You didn't have a VCR yet, right? You would plan your week around making sure that you were in front of the TV to watch Star Wars because it was on TV. So, yes, that's my theory. I will now allow you to respond to that theory.
There may be some truth to that. I wonder if it's, what does my daughter call it? Causation versus, I don't remember. But anyway, she basically...
Yeah. It happens at the same time or because of something.
Right.
Yeah.
So are you watching it more because you like it, or are you liking it more because you watch it more often? So I've seen it more times because I liked it the first time, and so I continue to watch it. So then, yes, my number of times having watched Empire Strikes Back is much higher than the number of times I've watched The Last Jedi. But does that mean I like it more, or is it better? I don't know.
So you're saying that if I
like a lot of the new movies. So I liked especially the newest ones. I liked Revenge of the Sith, and I liked
Force
the
Awakens.
Rey and Kylo Ren story.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. You know, I will say, not to get lost on this too much, but I did think, and my brother will surely be proud of me for this, I did think in the end that the episode 7, 8, 9 series was a lost opportunity.
Yeah.
It could have been this fun, like, adventure with Luke, Han Solo, and Princess Leia kind of on this, you know, still have the new characters in it, but they could have made all the jokes about how we're too old for this. You know, it could have been like a fun sort of reunion with them, and it would have been funny.
Yeah.
You know, I think there would have been a lot of good stuff in there.
The angry Luke was
Right. Angry
really-
Luke was weird. And I mean, think about it. There was not one time that the three of them are in a scene. Like, how do you have three Star Wars movies
Yeah.
and not have Han Solo, Princess Leia, and Luke Skywalker in any scenes together at all with
Yeah.
all three of them there? So, you know, I thought there could have been some fun stuff they did, you know.
You could have had more of them or less, and I think it would have been better, right? Like you were
Right.
saying, give me more of the three,
Or don't even
or
tease
give
me
me
with it.
less,
Right.
right? And just make it about
Yeah.
the new characters. But
Yeah,
trying
which
to
would have been fine.
Trying to play the middle. That's where you always get in trouble, though. You're trying to play the middle.
It's almost like, yeah, they're trying to like retire the three of them to like sell you on the new people to buy
Right.
all their merchandise.
But also
and-
give them enough airtime so that fans of the old would be like, oh,
Yeah, right. Well, you need them in the trailers to make you go to see the movies.
Right.
Right, yeah. You needed that moment when Han Solo and Chewbacca come in and they go, Chewie, we're home. And the Millennium Falcon, right? You needed that. So, yeah. So I hear that, though. It could be that I just liked them, so I watched them more. But I think with the Solo one, I kind of watched that one again to see if it really was that bad. And I think over time, I started liking it more. So it would make sense, though, that, you know, if that's true, if we like them more, the more we see them, then these new trilogies were doomed from the start. I mean, how many times would you have to watch any of these movies to catch up with the number of times you've seen Empire Strikes Back?
well, true. And they may have been doomed from the start,
I think,
regardless of.
yeah, it was a tall order to, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, no matter what they did with it, they probably would have had people that didn't like it either way. But I do feel like they really missed an opportunity to have the three of them together, kind of as, you know, coaches of the team.
But movies aside, the Star Wars world is, I think it's in good hands now with Dave Filoni at the helm. So with
Yeah,
the
I think
Mandalorian and the.
The Mandalorian is so good. Oh my gosh.
All right, well, we could talk about that all day. That's not why we're here.
Well, that's fine. We could do another podcast about that, though.
It's just
that's
a
good
Star
stuff.
Wars.
Yeah. Or things Matt and Eric think you should know. That'd be a great podcast. Oh my gosh. Think about that. Well, so I did want to, before we get into it, too Fast and Furious, I did want to see if I could redeem myself. Last week, I tried to toss in a few dad jokes in the spirit of Father's Day coming up. I think I crashed and burned, so kind of another swing at that.
Oh, jeez.
So I want to just bring a couple of tries and see how I do. How this? Do you know why I'm afraid for my calendar?
You're afraid for your calendar.
For my calendar?
No.
Because its days are numbered. But how this one? So my wife said that I should do some lunges to stay in shape.
Uh-huh.
I think that would be a big step forward.
No, last week was better.
Okay. How this one? Okay. I feel good about this one. Here we go. What do you say to a guy who has 2 broken legs and stole your camouflage jacket?
I'm laughing just as a picture in my head.
Right.
I don't know. But
So what do you say to the guy who has 2 broken legs but somehow found a way to steal your camouflage jacket?
what?
You can hide, but you can't run.
Yeah.
Come on.
No. I'm not giving
You
you
laughed
those.
before the punchline more than
I
ever.
did, yeah.
All right. Fair enough.
I'm not giving you those.
Fair enough. All right. Well, so if you were here yesterday at Heritage, or you saw online or watched it after the fact, you heard Dan Flowen share his story from his book, The Fisherman's Apprentice, that just came out. It's already an Amazon bestseller.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Impressive. So we
What a
have
story.
the
What a
big guns
story.
that come out here and preach at Heritage, no doubt. So I already had an Amazon bestseller here preaching at Heritage. But I'm in the middle of the book. I haven't finished it yet. I'm about halfway. Actually, on my Kindle, it says I'm at 50% right now. so which is really helpful to have that little percentage number for people who have attention problems. I fill up the progress
know
on
where you are
every
in the
page.
process.
Right?
Yeah. Keep going. You're almost there.
I'm almost there, halfway there. But honestly, this book, I made the joke yesterday in worship, like I know he survives this journey with cancer.
Yeah. Well, he's standing there telling us about it. So yeah.
Right. But I'm reading the book, and although I know he survives, but he writes it in this way that is so gripping and keeps you like invested in the story that, like I joked yesterday, I'm reading the thinking, man, I hope he survives because he's supposed to preach this Sunday.
Maybe that's why you like Rogue One. You
So-
like knowing the ending while you're in the.
Maybe that's what it is, right? I like knowing the ending ahead of time. And Rogue.
Don't go back.
When Darth Vader comes, yeah, okay, sorry. If you've not seen Rogue One, go see it.
We can keep talking about Star
If
Wars.
you've not read Dan Flowen's book, go read it. If you've not seen Dan Flowen's sermon on Heritage's Facebook page or Vimeo page, go watch that also. But it was really spectacular, and I got thinking a little bit about the impact that journey had. I mean, to grossly oversimplify the story, Dan was diagnosed with cancer, like stage 4 melanoma cancer. I want to say 2006, 2007, and at the time he's married, he has a daughter in the second, third grade. Has just started a new business, and this is serious stuff that just stops him in his tracks, and he has to go through the chemotherapy stuff, feels sick, loses his hair, can't really do any of the work, so his business is in trouble. Ends up having to sell their house. They have this boat that they love, to sell the boat, and it's really a hard story to watch, so it's incredible to read it, and as well as hearing the story. But I got wondering, there are some people who go through things like that and do not come out of it refined like Dan was. Right. You would never hear him take credit for any of it. Right. He would give credit to his small group of guys that meet on Friday mornings. He would give credit to his group of business leaders that kind of have like accountability group together. Mm-hmm. He would give credit to Jesus, to the Holy Spirit at work in his life, before he would take credit himself. But I just got wondering, what was it about his journey that did make it a redemption story, when so many other people could very well spiral into this angry at God, spiteful, why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm wondering if there's some, just some personal reflection I could do on myself to ask, if I had gone through that, how would I have come out of it?
Yeah, and he, like you said, he gives a lot of credit to his small group, and then the other. That was a huge part of it, right? He had people that were in his life, strong in their faith, that he could borrow faith from.
He would say that the whole church, and I mean, I can't tell you how many people since becoming the pastor here. I mean, so he'd been cured of the cancer for 10 years before I got here,
Yeah.
right? And still, one of the first things I learned was the story of Dan Flowen and his cancer when I got here 2.5, almost 3 years ago. And the whole church prayed with him and lifted him up, and he got to preach this once. And if you haven't seen the video, during the sermon yesterday, Dan shows a clip of himself speaking at Heritage in the middle of the chemotherapy, and he is emaciated and has no hair, and it's stunning to see him.
Yeah.
Compared with now, looking so much better. And by the way, he had no hair and then got it all back. Unlike me, who has never had cancer but has lost my hair and is not getting it back. But that just gives you a chance to to show off my fashionable hats. But anyway, yeah. So I cut you off, Eric. But you're right. He would give credit to lots of different groups.
So a small group, and then I forget who he said it was that was in his group. He mentioned him by name, that encouraged him to start journaling. And I think that's a discipline. We talk about, but few of us actually practice. And then he lifted up that 5-inch stack of paper, and showed everybody, his journaling. I think that was a huge part of it too. It makes me wonder, how do people get through suffering like that if they don't have that support system around them? And maybe that's the why some people don't respond the way they do. But that it became a redemptive story for him, because he was practicing those disciplines ahead of time, but like doubled down on his small group time and his journaling time and his prayer time. And I think that those disciplines just grew. He became more proficient at them, and in turn, was able to hear God's call and God's voice. That as you get better at those things, you begin to hear God's voice more and more often. I think it's when you begin to tune yourself to the Holy Spirit, looking forward and looking back, through the journaling, that becomes a huge part of it.
Yeah, he mocked it at first, right? He says something like, journaling sounds like a lot like a diary. Like, what am I, a middle school girl? No offense to middle school girls out there who are, I'm sure many of you are listening to the podcast.
Oh, geez, now I'm going to get you.
Right. If you're a middle school girl that has been offended by the podcast today, please email me at ericj@heritageumc.com. So I'm thinking about, there are stories of people who are atheists who get over cancer.
Yeah.
There are agnostic people who get over cancer. There are people who have very little to do with Jesus who get over cancer. There are plenty of people who love Jesus and die from cancer.
Right.
I can't help but hear his story juxtaposed against my dad, who just died a month ago, 2 months ago from cancer, after a long, difficult battle. Actually, before we got into worship that morning, I was telling Dan about, reading his book, and he told me about the metaphor he was going to use about the gumball machine, right? Again, if you haven't gotten to watch it, please do. But he kind of ended with saying, this is not, you don't do this as a series of things so that if you pray the right prayers and have the right people praying for you, and if you do the right stuff, if you talk to a homeless person, if you sell your house, then God's going to cure you of cancer. Like, God's not a gumball machine where you put the quarter in and turn the thing and then the gumball comes out.
Right.
I feel like there's so many people who, like, when you hear you have cancer, you shift into problem-solving mode. Like, okay, well, so what do we do? What increases the chances of being healed? And and so many people have stories about being prayed for and healed. I mean, people who've gone to revivals and had someone heal them, and I think a lot of that is terrible garbage stuff. But yeah, like it's hard to find the common threads that bring a person spiritually whole through that.
Right. Yeah, and maybe it's not so much about the curing the cancer or curing whatever the sickness is, but about redeeming the soul. And I think God's more about that business than he is about trying to heal us physically. So yeah, sometimes it results in physical healing, but I think God's more interested in where our hearts and our souls are, as opposed to where our bodies are.
Yeah. I mean, you often will hear people say things like, everything happens for a reason. God won't give you more than you can handle. Neither of which are in the Bible. Right. Neither of those things are true. The fact is that God does not give people cancer in order to accomplish something in your life. Right. Cancer is not part of God's plan, but it happens. And when I get to eternity and you get to you have your list of questions that you want to ask, one of my questions on my list is, Lord, how did you decide when to intervene and do a miracle and when to not?
Right.
I believe there's a whole, discussion of what's called theodicy, right? Of the where evil comes from and why bad things happen to good people and all that kind of talk.
Yeah, a lot of books out there about that.
Right. And we have this need, I think, to give cosmic purpose to things that makes us feel better about it.
Right.
Like if I can say that I have this cancer for some greater purpose, I'll feel better about it.
Right.
If I, and like if a person like dies after a heroic fight with cancer and people are inspired by them, I've heard people even say terribly at funerals, the reason this happened was,
so these people could be better,
right. And that is terrible theology, and that is not, that is not something that anyone should carry around with them. But the question is, God is still at work in that, and what does victory look like as you come through that? I think you're right. I think it is, it is a spiritual thing. It is the ability to become more like Jesus, even when you're suffering. I would say, the church, especially the church in America, has gotten pretty good at looking like you have it all together, right? Looking like a good Christian who dresses nice for Sunday morning and says all the right words, and there's all this Bible studies that they've done. And
I got my checklist and I've checked them all off.
Yeah. They're a good Christian, right? Because of all the things they've done. I think that this comes down to being versus doing, right? Like, what does God want you to be? Yeah. And it has very little to do with the tasks you've accomplished, the measuring up, feeling like your resume is good enough to make God pleased. The fact is, being close to the Lord is its own reward, right? Being in a relationship with God, having God want to be my friend and to deepen that relationship, that is a good result. And that is better than any other result. We often, I think, we get stuck on trying to sell becoming a Christian. Like, if you become a Christian, if you pray, if you do this, and this, and this, then you'll get this, this, and this. And, there's not prosperity gospel in Dan's heart during this story. But some people would say that this story ends well because he got a house and his boat back,
right.
Right. And if you say that, you're missing the whole point of what happened to him.
Yeah.
Of how his soul was changed by this. And so I have, as I think about the commonalities, I really have to go back to the people all around him. Like there were times that he had people dragging him through this, like his wife, Julie, heroic. The things she was researching and doing to try to figure this all out and get him through it. Guys in his small group praying for him, laying hands on him. One person puts the rock in their shoe to be reminded every time they feel it to pray for him. I think the commonality was the people around him. That's got to be the thing that sets it apart from everything else. And if you read the book, hear his story. It is a story of people coming alongside him, being there for him, and
I think that's the huge takeaway from the story was how faithful the people around him were, and how he began to grow closer to God through that story. And he tells some funny ways where he resisted that relationship with God at a few points. But was willing. He kept listening and was willing to do the hard. He did some hard work too to cleanse his soul. He would. It was a very inspiring story of discipline and obedience and community and just the way that people came around him. It was great.
Yeah, the question is not, God, why did you give me cancer? Why am I losing my house? Why is my business failing? Why is
and not that he never asked those questions.
Right.
Dan,
along the way, he's like, "Come on, Lord, what is the deal here?
Come on." Yeah.
Right. He even has this visual this graph of how his business was doing after this moment that he gave he gave all of it to Jesus.
Right.
He's like, I've been trying to do this myself and it's all a failure, so I'm going to put it in your hands. And then like they start doing better. And so you're thinking, oh, that's the secret. You give it to the Lord. He's going to give you money. He's going to give you success. And
But that is not what he was saying.
But sure enough, that business was back in the tank not long after that.
And he
right?
was just as loyal.
Yeah. And does that mean that God is not with you anymore? Right. If and so I think plenty of people have lost their house and lost their boat and had their business fail.
Yeah.
Not everyone has those things happen to them and ends up feeling this burden to stop at the homeless when there's the homeless guy on the corner and then drives past him and then he feels like agonizing over it for a couple of miles, then turns around and goes back to talk to the guy. Not everyone comes through those losses and becomes who Dan became. And so I think it's a powerful walk away to see the people in his life and how they carried him through that. And so, if you find yourself, and there's plenty of takeaways from this, but if one of the main ones has to be that if you are not a part of a small group, a part of a church, a part of a community of people that will rise to the occasion for you in those moments, it is a gift to be a part of those that is really hard to quantify. People have had their lives turned upside down, but it's the people around that coming around them and helping them through it that really seems to be what makes the enduring difference and sort of provides people around that give voice to God's heart. Right? God will often speak through the people in your life to help you find the faith you didn't have otherwise. So I do encourage you, if you didn't get the chance to read the book or watch the sermon yet, please do hop on. You can find it on our website, heritageumc.com. You can find it on our Facebook page. You can also find the book on Amazon. It's called The Fisherman's Apprentice by Dan Flowen, Floen. I encourage you to give it a read. It'll definitely encourage your soul and give you some things to think about. So that's all the time we have for today, friends. Thanks so much for hanging out with us in the Disorganized Religion podcast. Go read Dan's book and go watch some Star Wars, and we'll see you next time.
See you, everyone.